Jake Virtanen signed a 2-year extension, $1.25 million per year, and I didn't do a video on it. I don't think I even reported on it. And, Virtanen's one of these interesting guys because there's always a lot of opinions given about Jake Virtanen. So I decided today to create some madness with old magnets. Jake Virtanen, his first season, 55 games played, 7 goals, 6 assists, 13 points. This, of course, was year 2 after his draft. So he's drafted in 2014, and he joined the league in 2015-16. Realizing that he was kind of overwhelmed at the NHL level, 2016-17, he only plays 10 NHL games and gets 1 assist. And admittedly, as a Canucks fan, it made me a little bit nervous. 2017-18, he plays 75 games, 10 goals, 10 assists, 20 points. Now, there's a comparable between 2015-16 season and 2017-18. He plays 20 more games, gets 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. So his points rate is about the same. He's now played 140 games in his career, 17 goals, 17 assists, 34 points. But there's a lot of people that write him off. And I'm not sure that's smart. So what I've done is I've put some Hall of Famers on the board, some guys who started off slowly, and some guys who started off fast. Because 3 years into a guy's career, you don't know what you're getting. You really don't. Unless it's Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, and nobody thought Virtanen would be that. Cam Neely, his first 3 years, all in Vancouver, 83-84, he plays 56 games, 16 goals, 15 assists, 31 points. 84-85, 72 games, 21 goals, 18 assists, 39 points. 85-86, 73 games, 14 goals, 20 assists, 34 points. And that's why he was traded for Barry Peterson. Because during a period where everybody was getting 20 goals, Cam only hit that mark once in his 3 years as a Canuck. And with 201 games played and 104 points, the number 9 draft in the 1983 entry draft, number 9 pick in the 1983 entry draft, it was seen that maybe Cam Neely was not going to turn out to be that forward that he was expected to be. And 10 years later, the term power forward exists in large part due to Cam Neely and what he did in Boston. I'm not saying Virtanen is going to do what Neely did at all. But it's interesting that Neely in his third year had 14 goals, 34 points. Virtanen in his third year, 10 goals, 20 points. And when you take those stats and you even them out using the adjuster, there's the way to adjust for different eras. They're not that far apart. Todd Bertuzzi, 95-96. His first year, 76 games, 18 goals, 21 assists, 39 points. His second year, 96-97, 64 games, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points. And in his third year, he's traded to the Vancouver Canucks because he's not working out, and the Islanders have severe ADHD when it comes to their prospects. 74 games, 13 goals, 23 assists, 33 points. So in 214 games, 41 goals, 54 assists, 95 points for Todd Bertuzzi. Again, Bertuzzi is going to be a star, but you wouldn't know it looking at these numbers. You wouldn't have a clue. Now, if we're going to get into comparables as well, and again, this is a Hall of Famer who just retired. Jerome McGinley, 82 games, 21 goals, 29 assists, 50 points in his rookie season, 97-98. 70 games played, 13 goals, 19 assists, 32 points. So sophomore jinx hits him. His third year, 82 games, 28 goals, 23 assists, 51 points. In his first 3 years, 234 games played, 62 goals, 71 assists, 133 points. He's the number 11 pick in the 1995 draft. Of course, Bertuzzi, the number 23 pick in the 1993 draft. There's a pattern here. None of these guys are the player they're going to be. None of them. Iginla at 28 goals is close, but come on. He's going to be a 50-goal scorer not long after this. 62 goals, 71 assists, 133 points is only a brief, small hint of what's yet to come. Milan Lucic, 2007-2008, 77 games, 8 goals, 19 assists, 27 points. 2008-2009, 72 games, 17 goals, 25 assists, 42 points. Nice increase for him in his sophomore year. However, year 3, 2009-2010, 50 games, 9 goals, 11 assists, 20 points. Done. That Lucic kid, he's done. Might as well trade him. 50 games, 20 points, 9 goals, 199 games played, 34 goals, 55 assists, 89 points. Clearly taking a step back. He's done. number 50 pick in the 2006 draft. Not done. The year after that, he wins the Stanley Cup. Brendan Shanahan, one of the all-time greats. Number 2 pick in the 1987 draft. And again, number 2 pick, Virtanen, number 6. Wasn't the best guy to draft at number 6, and I think every Canuck fan will admit that. Absolutely. Should have drafted Nylander. Brendan Shanahan, 87, 88, 65 games, 7 goals, 19 assists, 26 points. 88, 89, 68 games, 22 goals, 28 assists, 50 points. 89, 90, he starts to become the player he's going to be. 73 games, 30 goals, 42 assists, 72 points for the Devils, and he's soon going to be awarded to the Blues as compensation, which is not a good thing to have happen. But while we have these, and now there's a dividing line, I also want to get into others, because there are other examples of guys who kind of go the other way. Now Yakupov, number 1 pick 2012, his first season, 2012-2013, 48 games played, 17 goals, 14 assists, 31 points. 2013-14, 63 games, 11 goals, 13 assists, 24 points. 81 games played in 2014-15, 14 goals, 19 assists, 33 points. In 192 games, 88 points. After year 3, there's still talk about how Yakupov could still potentially be the guy that he looked like he was going to be in his rookie season, but it's Edmonton. He needs to get out of Edmonton. Edmonton's the problem. No. Yakupov, of course, now going to the KHL, trying to rediscover his self-confidence and his game. Alexander Daig, and we all remember what a flop Daig was, right? Not his rookie year, he wasn't. 84 games played in 93-94, 20 goals, 31 assists, 51 points. Those are very respectable totals for a rookie. And it was seen at the time that he was just going to build on it. His second year, 94-95, 47 games, 16 goals, 21 assists, 37 points. Again, not far off from a point a game. And, you know, if you prorate that over a full season, he has, 25 goals and about 55 points? Things look good. However, year 3, 95-96, 50 games played, 5 goals, 12 assists, 17 points. And that's when the bottom falls out. So for Daig, he started off pretty good. We weren't talking about him being a bust after year 1 or year 2. It was year 3 that we started saying, I don't know, maybe this guy doesn't want it. And it was desire with Daig, and I understand that with Virtanen, there have been questions about his work ethic as well. And that can be pretty damning. I'm not going to lie about that. Nikita Filatov is also a recent example. Number 6 pick in the 2008 draft. 2008-2009, he plays 8 games for Columbus, 4 goals. 2009-2010, 13 games for Columbus, 2 goals. 2010-2011, he plays 23 games and gets 7 assists, no goals. So in his first 3 years, 44 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points. And there was still a narrative out there after that third season that it was Columbus that was the problem, not Filatov. They weren't giving him the time that he needed on the ice to prove himself, and that on the right team with the right organization, maybe it'll make a difference. Ottawa took a flyer on him. He scored 1 point. Off he goes back to the KHL. Filatov is an example of a guy who, and this is funny because we talk a lot about how Don Cherry's hard on Europeans. You know what? There are some hockey fans that are really soft on Europeans. That if a European player's struggling, they go, yeah, but he's got so much skill. So that struggle, it's not really his fault. It's the coach. It's the organization. They won't give him a chance. I've seen it in Vancouver. I've seen it with Sergei Shirokov, Fedor Fedorov, and others who, you know, come in as these Euros and they're skilled. And the skill's there, but they can't fight their way through NHL checking. They can't get the scoring opportunities. And if you're skilled, but you get knocked off the puck really easy, you're a liability out there. That's why these guys don't make it. I'm not saying that was the problem with Filatov. There were a few other things that seemed to go around about Filatov. Let's get to a really extreme example. Nino Niederreiter, now of the Minnesota Wild. Drafted number 5 overall, 2010 draft by the New York Islanders. 2010-2011, 9 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist. Goes back to juniors. 2011-2012, plays 55 games, 1 goal. That's it. 2012-2013, he doesn't even play in the NHL. He plays in the minors. 64 games played, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. The guy's a bust. He gets sent off to Minnesota, and the rest is history. There was no indication during the 2011-2012 season of what Nino was going to be. there was every indication that this was a busted draft pick. Again, by the Islanders. Of course, the Islanders are going to have these problems. Nino moves on. Notice, he played a lot less games than Virtanen, scored a lot less points per game than Virtanen. I really think, and I'll come back to this, there are reasons why Jake Virtanen gets some of the attacks he gets. It's not really on Jake. Jimmy Carson is the most extreme example I could end with. Jimmy Carson is the reason why, when I rate draft picks all time, that Patrick Laine and Austin Matthews don't show up. Jimmy Carson, drafted number 2 in the 1986 draft, 86-87, as an 18-year-old, 80 games played, 37 goals, 42 assists, 79 points, 87-88, 80 games played, 55 goals, 52 assists, 107 points, 88-89, 80 games played, 49 goals, 51 assists, 600 points. In 240 games played, he has 286 points. Jimmy Carson retires with about 500 points in over 600 games played. 3 years into a guy's career, it is really hard to figure out exactly what you're getting. This is why I get nervous when a guy coming out of his entry-level contract gets big money. Because there are too many cases where I've seen a guy who, yeah, you have your guys who are off the radar and all of a sudden they blossom, but you also have guys who come in like a ball of fire and then they just burn out. Carson, within a few years of this 88, 89, 100 point season, is bouncing around the league and he's not the player that he was. And he's in his early 20s. So what happens? Teams are like, we can fix this. Even Vancouver's like, we can fix this. He went back to LA. LA with the idea of, we can get him back on track. We can do this. He scored 107 points for us before. We can get him back to where he was. Or at least get him close. Should be able to get him to about a point a game. And it just didn't happen. So back to Jake Virtanen. The lightning rod who gets a 2-year, $2.5 million contract, which is fine. And there's an article today on one of the hockey blog sites about how Virtanen could become a top 9 forward. It's an interesting topic since Jake Virtanen is a top 9 forward. He's not a fourth liner. Ideally, he's third line right now. He still has the ability to reach that top 6. He is never going to threaten Cam Neely, Todd Bertuzzi, Brendan Shanahan, Jerome McGinley, Milan Lucic. He's never going to threaten these guys. The reason they're on the board is 3 years into their career, with the exception of Shanahan, we aren't really seeing what they're capable of yet. Iginla's getting there. 28 goals. Shanahan's at 30 and 72 points, but Bertuzzi at 33, Neely at 34, Lucic at 20, and here's Virtanen at 20. I think the fact that Virtanen wears this jersey makes him an easy target. Because he was drafted ahead of better players, he's an easy target. He is never going to be a 30-goal scorer. Now, I don't think he has the hands for it. But if he comes into camp with the right attitude and the right chip on his shoulder, I think he's going to be better than people give him credit for. I've made Virtanen jokes as much as anybody. But honestly, I don't consider a guy a bust when he's played 140 games in the NHL in 3 years. I don't. And I don't look at a guy with 10 goals and 20 points last year and say, bust. Because this can get better. And it probably will. Look at Tom Wilson in Washington. And I know, again, Wilson has more to his game than Virtanen. But Wilson's point totals didn't show up until this year. So there you go. My opinion on Jake Virtanen is simple. $1.25 million a year for 2 years is perfectly reasonable for a guy who may not have shown us his best game yet. And when I say he's capable of 15 to 20 goals this year, I'm not saying it because I'm insane. That might be part of it, but because he's going into his 4th year. And there are plenty of examples of guys that in their 4th years have started to become the player that you expect. Have started to become, in his case, it's not going to be a superstar, but it's going to be a decent top 9/top 6 forward. And for $1.25 million, it's worth the risk. There you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. I'll talk to you guys again soon.